As we now come to votes in the external sector, volume B5, volume 4. The question is a vote customs, vote defence force, vote foreign affairs and trade, and vote official development assistance stand part of the schedules. Dr. Shane Reckon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a pleasure to speak to this, the external sector, which, as you've mentioned, takes into account defence, trade, humanitarian aid, customs, disarmament and many other ministries. Mr. Chair, I'm going to limit my comments here this afternoon to defence and customs particularly, and I'd like to start by talking about the Defence White Paper that came out a few months ago that set New Zealand's strategic direction, strategic imperatives for the next 15 to 30 years. Now, the Defence White Paper, the official Defence White Paper, had some of its genesis with public consultation through 2015. And I think that's really useful because we can see how the official document finally has been informed by that public consultation. If we look at that, there were 13 public meetings and a total of 325 submissions to the Defence White Paper. 195 were from members of the public, and 108 from Defence Force personnel. Now, there were several questions that were asked that helped inform the final document, and I picked out some of them because I think that we can really see how the final document took the lead from what the public was saying. One of those questions was around major threats, and the majority of submissions indicated terrorism as a major threat for Defence to pay attention to. International relationship risks, the majority of submitters said that Asia-Pacific geopolitical instability...
I am going to interrupt the chair of the committee and to remind him that the estimates debate should be relevant to the government's current spending plans contained in the estimates of appropriation. A white paper, submissions to a white paper and a white paper published outside the period is not relevant other than the effect that white paper has on spending in this particular year. A point of order, Jami-Lee.
Mr. Chair, at the estimates hearing itself, which the report of the committee covers, the Defence White Paper was canvassed extensively by committee members in questioning the Minister, and clearly the Defence White Paper has resulted in decisions being made which will carry through into the government's estimates. Surely it's in order for the member to mention that.
Well, if the chair of the committee had in fact reported that, then he could well have brought what he subsequently said within bounds. I will take the members' comments on board, but I do want to remind members that we are trying to tighten the debate. So I'm not quite going to withdraw and apologise, but suggest that in future chairs relate their comments to what happens at the hearings if they think that they might otherwise be out of scope. Although that just does bring the question about whether the discussions at the committee were within scope. We'll leave that for now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With respect to the hearings that were held and the discussions that were held, the Defence White Paper was very important, and the point I was making was that community consultation substantively informed the official document, which I'd like to talk to now as well. The official White Paper looked at the strategic challenges through to 2040. And of course, this is what the estimates and appropriations are here to fund, some of those strategic challenges. It set out a range of challenges likely to affect New Zealand's strategic interests, including rising sophistication and a number of actors operating within New Zealand's exclusive economic zone. And this was important because it was also mentioned exclusively by public submitters. An increased likelihood of terrorist attack in New Zealand, a more rapid evolution of cyber threats, heightened tension in the East and South China Seas, increases in military spending and intensifying turmoil across the Middle East. What the White Paper then did was to operationalise, and this is where the funding is going to, operationalise the government's commitment as a $20 billion modernisation of the Defence Force, and we discussed this with officials during the hearing. That $20 billion modernisation of the New Zealand Defence Force included 13 sort of major purchases Some of those purchases included replacement of the current Boeing 757 aircraft. I won't go through all of them, but replacement of the current C-130 Hercules aircraft. I know certainly from Northland we were part of the very first inshore patrol boats that were built, the 4 of them. The Rotoiti was the first one, and we're pleased to see that an offshore patrol vessel is also in the standards and estimates. Replacement of the naval tanker HMNZS Endeavour with a more capable and versatile ship. Cyber support, intelligence support, a network-enabled army is what these appropriations are going towards as well. We had the pleasure of being out at Papakura with the Special Operations Force, and we were able to see their new facility a few months ago, which is included in part of this appropriations. And they were also showing us some of the new equipment that we're voting for in this bill that will give them more performance, more effectiveness in their role. They also pointed out some of the protected mobility, the light armoured vehicles that will now be reinforced, and long land combat weapons. So in summary, for this part of the debate, Mr Chair, a defence force that preserves New Zealand interests and enhances New Zealand's international reputation with the international community. I'd then like to just turn to customs as the other area I wanted to focus on. And customs continues to apply itself to the increasing passenger and tourism numbers. SmartGate remains a very, very effective tool with efficient processing, and we discussed this in detail as well. In fact, part of that discussion was the business plan for SmartGates was that they would be able to free up some full-time equivalents to do other tasks, and we were reassured that yes, this is actually happening. In fact, 4 million people have moved through SmartGate in the last 12 months. We're also told that the appropriations will go towards detector dogs, which are very efficient for mail and low-volume, fast freight type activities, and indeed there's support for another 5 dog teams. The budget provided for $1.5 million over 2 years for increased security to customs, as a package of $17.1 million over 4 years to further explore the border risk. Now, the sector itself is much wider than the 2 areas I focused on, Mr Chair, notably defence and customs, and I'm sure my colleagues will speak to other parts of that. But I think what this does show is that these estimates... These estimates and appropriations represent a government that's investing in security, humanitarian aid, international relations, disarmament and trade as we grow our economic and social worth as a country, and I fully support these strategies. Thank you, Mr Chair.
Mr Chairman. Mr Chairman?
What I am going to do is, I think there was some confusion then as to whether the member called or not. I may have been confused, and we won't count that last 30 seconds as a call.
Okay.
Dr. Megan Woods.
Thank you, Mr.